welcome back. So in this video, we are going to talk all about how we progress through this journey. How accurate do we need to be in this tracking process in order to see results? So let's start with assuming you're a beginner. If you're not a beginner, then we can maybe start at steps 2 or 3. But if you're just a beginner, what I recommend is you just start tracking your normal food as much as possible. Now, obviously, if you were the takeout queen or king and went through the drive-through all of the time, we maybe need to start reining some of that stuff in. But in general, I encourage people to start tracking their normal food to get started. If you're curious about just give me a meal plan, tell me what to eat, meal plans don't work. They work in the short term, they don't work in the long term because nobody wants to be told what to do for the rest of their life. You need to start learning some of these things on your own. And one of the things that's powerful about tracking your normal food is a lot of times you'll learn that your normal food does okay. It fits okay into your plan, and you maybe just have to tweak portion sizes or manipulate things just a little bit. But chances are you don't need to do a complete 180 with your entire diet and stop eating everything that's in your fridge and pantry and completely shift and buy all new foods. So that's where I encourage people to start, is start tracking your normal food. Understand which foods are probably okay. Which ones maybe we need to kind of mitigate or rein in how much we eat those, and then which foods we go, that one's going to be tough to fit into our plan. Maybe just on special occasions we have that. So you'll figure those things out. Typically, right out of the gates, if you want to start keeping things a little bit more simple, that also helps. So number 2, as far as where we go next, is we start looking at our weekly averages when it comes to tracking, or once we start tracking our food. So obviously this is going to take a week of data. So you've been doing this potentially for only a few days now. We need to gather enough data so that we can look at weekly averages. And what this does is it shows trends. It shows, hey, it looks like I'm consistently short on protein. Looks like I'm consistently over on carbs or maybe fat. This is where then we have to start looking at the foods that we're consuming and saying, okay, it doesn't look like I get enough protein at breakfast, or it doesn't look like, or it looks like I consume too much fat overall throughout the day. So where is most of that fat coming from? And can I start reining in some of those food choices, or shrinking those portion sizes, or eliminating certain foods on certain days so that I maybe don't have the avocado with cheese and salad dressing and bacon crumbles all on my salad, which sounds good because it's a salad, but now all of a sudden our fat numbers go through the roof, and that causes us to run over our fat numbers consistently. So those are things that you will learn when you start looking at your weekly averages. You can find these in your apps. There's more. Do a quick Google search or search on how to do that. Or if you've gone through our boot camp program, that's something that we show you more in depth on how to look at all of that reporting. So with that, one thing that the next step, I guess, in the process will be to start looking at your daily numbers. This is important in the sense of, if we tend to be all over the map on our daily numbers, it's going to make it a lot harder for us to make any manipulations to your plan if you can't hit the numbers to begin with. So we start with a few days. Can you get within 10% of your daily numbers 2 to 3 days a week? And I should back up. Those weekly numbers, if we can get within 10%, that's a really good goal to get to right out of the gate. So if your protein goal was, say, 130, we would want to be within 10% of that, either high or low. If our fat number is 60, we would want to be within 6 grams high or low on that one. And then we shift that over to daily. Then we start adding on days. And the idea here is we want to build up to a point where, and this will take some time, but we will want to build up to a point where we can get pretty close within that 10% variance 5, maybe 6 days per week. You'll notice I don't say 7 days. I don't think most people need to be perfect or within even that 10% variance 7 days a week. I think if you can do this 6 days a week, you're going to see fantastic results. And then what I refer to as that seventh day tends to be what I preach to my clients and coaching people, that it's a flex day. So the idea here is basically it's a day where we keep calories in check, but we allow you to flex on your macros. And if one goes way over, that's totally fine. And if one, say, protein stays way short, you're going to be just fine if that happens one day a week. So that's the general progression as we move through this whole process. It's not about being perfect. It's about understanding trends. It's about understanding what foods we need to moderate and which foods we potentially need to eat more of. We find this a lot, and that's one thing too, and we'll get into some of this in our next video, talking about some tips to help you with this whole process and get a little bit closer to your numbers.